Alright, guys. This is time for a serious talk. And this is gonna be about why I haven't uploaded in a good 2 years. Technically 3 if you wanna, get a little nitpicky. But for me, trying to be a YouTuber, I've always been skeptical about it just because of the simple fact that I just didn't know what I was doing. You know, I was I was trying to go technically an easy route if you want to think about it like that. I wasn't completely invested into it, which was probably one of the biggest issues, right? I was always afraid technically like, oh, what if nobody watches and nobody does this and nobody does that and people just leave bad comments, and I was like, part of me it didn't want to deal with that, right? So in the back of my head, that was always one of the factors that was like, okay, if I post this video, are people even gonna watch? Are people even gonna, leave a nice comment or anything like that? And then it stems into me not wanting to be confrontational, right? So if someone were to leave a bad comment, I would be like, oh, okay. You know, I would probably not take the criticism very well because it would probably just like get me down, or maybe I would think it would get me down, or I might be angry at it. I wouldn't be happy with the comment. Like, what did this person mean? What was this person trying to say? And then I would just like overthink things, and then next thing you know, I just didn't post the next video and this and that, which ended up just being me being paranoid. If you really want to like think about it like that way. And then there comes another issue where my job was kind of just, I wouldn't say it was making me tired, but the job itself was just, didn't really make me enjoy, like, take my break time, essentially, when I wasn't working. So, like, say for instance, because I used to work retail, right? I believe I've said this in another video, but, I used to work retail, and when you're in retail, you deal with a lot of shit. A lot of people who have never been in retail don't know this, but there are a lot of, let's just say, unsavory customers that you end up talking to sometimes. Some of them are not in their heads right. Some of them are just like, why did you just say that to me? Some of them are like, I don't know, I don't want to, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. It's like you meet essentially a whole cast of what am I gonna get today kind of things. And there would be some days where I would get customers who were just plain rude to me. I would be trying to be helpful to them. I would try not to be, snooty with them or sarcastic with them. I would just try to, get them what they want and then try to get them out the door as a paying customer. And some customers, they'll just be like, right? They'll just be, I want this and I want discounts, and and then when I come home, it's just like I would be annoyed on days, right? I would just be, I'm having a bad day, and that would essentially be my excuse. I would just be like, I had a bad day. I don't feel like recording right now. I don't feel like playing games. I don't feel like, just posting a video today. I'll do it tomorrow. And then another day, and then another day, and then so on and so forth. And then it would come down to my videos having this strange, I'm really annoyed kind of feel to them, Like, my head wasn't invested, my heart wasn't invested, and I would just be like, I can't post this video, right? Like, I would try to sound happy, but then I would just like do this weird nervous kind of laugh thing, and trying to be trying to feel like I wasn't who I really was. I wasn't being honest. I didn't feel like I was being honest. And then one of the issues that stemmed from that was it would just be like the quality wasn't just good enough for me. Like, cause I'm technically a perfectionist, but I'm also technically a realist, which doesn't match up very well for those who don't understand either. And it's like, because it kind of comes from, oh, I want this part to be perfect, and then I want this part to be perfect, and this part, and this part, and this part, and then I would make that excuse throughout the entire video, try to do a little editing here, try to make this sound a little bit lower, maybe this sound a little higher, maybe I peaked here, maybe I peaked here, and then the realist part of me would be like, well, this part's okay, and this part's okay, but then the the perfectionist side would be like, this part isn't, and this part isn't, and this part isn't. So two sides of my head would be confronting one another, right? So I would just keep in my own head, I would just knock back and forth, like those two little devil things, like the angel on one side and the devil on the other. It would be like that, except neither of them were the angel or the devil. They were just like a combination of both, and it would only be one of them, and that one person was speaking at the exact same time, which is what kind of fucks around with my head, right? That would be just like, like having 8 people, well, not only 8 people, but let's just say, a group of people talking in your ear, like those commercials, right? Where you hear all that mumbo jumbo, and then you just like, you're trying to concentrate on one voice, and you're trying to concentrate on that voice, and that voice, and that voice, and you're like, I can't think, and you're just like, I want to scream, you're like, ah, right? It's like that. Like, that was in my head whenever I tried to make a video, because like, it would be like, as I'm saying what I'm saying, my head is contradicting what I'm saying, so my statement would get jumbled in the middle of me saying it, right? Like, if that's really hard to comprehend, as I said that, that's literally what just happened. I was contradicting myself as I was saying it. So that would make me undecisive. That would make me, like, question whether or not this video should be posted or this video should be posted, and then it would end up leading to me just being really quiet at times, where I just wouldn't say anything, or it would lead me to times where I would just ramble on and on and on, and then I would forget what my original statement was, right? So, and then what's weird is that this would constantly snowball itself. It would go back in a weird circle where it would be like, I would go from like the weird fear and shame aspect of should I post this, should I not, and then go to the confrontational aspect of me confronting myself within the video, and then, I would think, okay, maybe this quality wasn't good enough, and then it would go to me being indecisive about whether this part was good enough, and then it would come to me posting it, but then part of me would be like undecisive again, and then I would just end up in this weird giant circle of me, the shame, the undecisive, and then the unsureness, and then just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and it would just lead to this weird thing of just me not posting, where in my head I would look at this video, right, something I just edited, maybe, not just cutting off the ends, but maybe adjusting my peaks, adjusting my lows, all that and stuff, and then I would get to just about to press the upload button, I'd be like, this could be better. This could be better. That could be better. This could be done better. And then it would just recycle itself over and over again. But the major issue was, part of me always kept saying, this quality could be better, instead of me just, putting it on the internet and just letting things go, Because at some point, you just have to let things go. And that was my major issue, was that I just couldn't do it. Where I couldn't just be like, it's like, it's kind of like the nest, the birds going out of the nest thing, Once you put the video out there, it's out there. You can't take it down. Technically, you could take it down, but, parts of it will always be out there. Whether someone just uses it or takes it, and then they download the audio, and guess what? They have that forever. And that was essentially how my mind kept going. Like, I don't want to post this and then have someone, use it in a bad way, or use it against me in the future. And then that was always causing that. But the most, I guess technically the biggest issue was the simple fact that, I'm not calling this an excuse, but it was the simple fact that I didn't realize this until, not too long ago. Maybe it's been a few years, but I didn't realize this until I went to my doctor, and, and she said, or he said, you have ADHD. I've been noticing this for a bit, and you kind of come in and out when we're talking, and then I don't understand you. So she got me some couple tests, and she tested me and all that, and it was like, I think you have ADHD, or some minor form or alternative form of it, because I was just telling her, just, this is happening in my head, and this is happening, and this is happening, and it would just continuously roll around my head to the point where I just didn't want to say anything, right? because it would just be like, oh, he's got something wrong with him, and people would just make fun of it, and I was like, I didn't want to deal with that. So that's essentially where it came from. And now I'm just going to go into this whole thing of what ADHD is and what it does to people. For those who don't know, ADHD stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity. God, I can't even speak. Hyperactivity or hypertension disorder. Depending on who you ask. They say either hyperactivity or hypertension, but it's kind of the same thing, not exactly, but essentially what it is your mind is constantly losing focus, and you just can't you can't focus and stay attentive to one specific thing, right? So how do I say this in a weird way? It's like I would often just second guess myself and then look at this thing and second guess myself again and again and again. But it's like what ended up happening was it wasn't coming out in my body form like it normally would. Like, for instance, those who have ADHD, they do a lot of things with their hands. They fidget. Their hands are constantly like grabbing things, or they're moving their hands, their feet, sometimes even their whole bodies. They can't sit still. And that was happening, but it was happening in my head, right? It wasn't happening in my body. So what would end up happening is, like I said, my mind would constantly lose focus, sometimes even mid-sentence, and I would just be like, okay, wait, what? And then I'd be like, wait, what? Like, my head would just be like, would go from step to step to step to step, and then I would forget what the first step was, and then after I come up with another step, I would forget what the second step was, and then I would keep doing this over and over again, to the point where I didn't really even remember where I was, right? Especially, this would sometimes even happen when I was at my job, right? I would be like, all right, this thing has to go here, and this item has to go here, and this item has to go here. But then I would grab like 7 different items, and then by the time I did the first one, I'd be like, oh wait, I didn't need to do this one. This item's supposed to go over there. But it would just be like this never-ending cycle of I needed to focus on one thing and one thing only, do that thing, and then move on. But when I was trying to make videos, it wasn't happening that way, because like I said before, I would lose focus mid-sentence, and then I would be like, I'd be like, wait, what? At some point, which is kind of weird, I don't know if I've ever heard this term before, so I came up with my own, and I call it the confusion correlation effect. My basic definition of this was, you start at step 1, you get to step 2, and then you get to step 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7. But in between every one of those steps, there's technically a step A and a step B, right? Say for instance, I would be like, let me grab this one item, or let me do this one thing, and then my mind would branch off into 2 separate directions, right? Where if I do this thing, one step will lead me to this area, the second step will lead me to this area, and then after that, step 2 would then branch off into 2 separate ones, the step A side and the step B side, and then the A side would branch off into 2 more directions, and the step B would branch off in 2 more directions. So now I'm at 4 steps and 4 different directions in my own head as I'm continuously going on. And what gets this confusing is this wasn't just at work, but this was in my normal life, right? Where it would be like, if I make this video and post it here, what's gonna happen? And then I'd be like, okay, this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen, and this is gonna happen. And then I would just be like, okay, now I'm just confused, and I completely forgot what was the whole point. I would be like, wait, what? I would be like, okay, I edited this part, and then next thing you know, I'm at the end of the video, and I was like, wait a second, what was I editing again? And then I'd be like, oh man, I gotta go back and do it all over again, and then I would continuously forget. And then I would just be like, okay, day's over, we'll do it tomorrow. And this would repeat day after day after day, to the point where I just essentially just stopped recording in general, because it'd be like, this quality wasn't good enough, this wasn't this, and this wasn't that, and I'd be like, oh my god. Like, my disorder essentially altered my mind in such a weird way that I just couldn't think straight anymore. because I never really had an issue with like the body thing. Like for instance, like ADHD says your body will just be, you know, you're constantly fidgeting that. But that wasn't really the issue with me. It was the simple fact that I would get distracted by something, but then I would continuously think about that distraction until something else distracted me away from that distraction. And then I would focus on that one, and then something else would distract me, and then so on and so forth, which I guess is the reason why my teacher always gave me this weird look whenever I turned in some paper. Because, like, let's just say, for instance, the first step of an essay, right? You would have to write, let's just say we're writing about cats. And the correlation confusion effect that I ended up going through was, like, I went from cats, and then I would be like, okay, they have a fear of dogs, and then those dogs have a fear of, like, let's just say other dogs, and they're like bigger dogs, and those dogs essentially can get mauled by bears, and then those bears can get shot by hunters, and then those hunters go and pick up the cat and save the cat, right? Like, that would be my essay when I was a kid. And like that's where I ended up just like going through like over and over and over again. And then after that, what would end up happening was I would just start feeling kind of a little bit depressed because I wasn't posting anything. But then I would also get depressed from the fact that I was constantly downing myself, right? Like, not just downing, but doubting, right? I would just, like, it goes back to the angel and the devil thing, right? Is that I would constantly say the good and bad, good and bad, good and bad, and then eventually it just started going to more bad than good, and then I would just not want to post anymore. I wouldn't want to edit anymore. I didn't want to do anything, and then it just became this weird endless cycle where, like, should I record today? Nah, I don't feel like it. Or should I do this and should I do that? And I was like, nah, don't feel like it. And then lo and behold, weeks pass, months pass, and now we're here where I just randomly start posting. And I guess I can't really consider that fair for anyone. Even if no one watches these videos, it's just like, if people do watch them, how is that fair for them? And then that's where my head started going, is like, and that's why I started posting is like, I can't do this to people even if nobody watches. The fact that I didn't post anything, even though I tried to be a YouTuber, is like, that's not fair. It's like, that would be like your favorite YouTuber. It's like, let's just say they had like 1 million subs. They stop posting. Boom. They don't give you any kind of warning. No message at all. It's just like, that's not fair. I can't do that. And then, like, that's where it came down to. I was like, you know what? Let's just start again. Whether this goes anywhere, who knows? If I can do anything with it, who knows? But at least I know that if I tried, if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, it doesn't. This is where I've come to, right? This is where I've come to accept what I've become and what I have done with my life. Is that I can no longer accept who I was before, which I came to this realization. It's like, if I fail, I failed. Okay, so what? It's not like it's the end of the world. It's not like I'm dead. It's not like someone else got hurt because of that, right? It was just me being insecure and me being just so hell-bent on downing myself that I didn't want to. I just was like trying to shoot down my own success or potential for success even before anything got off the ground, right? I was just like, oh, no one's gonna like this video, right? And like, that was my mindset when I was making YouTube. It's like, who's gonna watch this? You know? And that's how all YouTubers start, right? Is that some of them start to doubt themselves, and that's why they just stop doing YouTube in general. And that's what I was like, you know what, I can't do this. I have to at least try. If I don't try, then I'll never know if I actually could go further, right? I would never know if I could succeed. And I think that's where I came to this realization. God, I can't speak. That's when I started like, you know what, let's give it another try. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. It's not the end of the world. My life is still going. Everyone else's life is still going. Lo and behold, here we are. So anyways, that's all from me, guys. But if you guys do have some type of illness, go seek some help. Because that was my issue, is that I never went to get help. And I want anyone who's watching this video to go at least help. If you're depressed or sad or, you know, just not feeling like yourself, just ask someone, hey, I need some help. Please help me. You know, go to a doctor, go to your family, go to your friends, anyone. Just go and talk to them. And because that's what I did. And, you know, I started feeling better about myself. I wasn't feeling as depressed. And that's what I'm just trying to say here. It's okay if you don't feel okay, right? It's okay to realize you can't do it by yourself. And it's okay to realize that, you know, maybe you need help from time to time. And that's essentially what happened to me, is that I came to the realization that I needed outside help. I could no longer, you know, just rely on myself to do anything. Like I wasn't feeling like myself anymore. I wasn't feeling like the person who used to be, just happy, didn't really care, and just I started just being the exact opposite of what I used to be. I just ended up changing entirely, and it affected how I saw life, how I saw what I was trying to do, how I saw what I wanted to be, and then I just started losing myself in my own corrupting mindset. So, like I said, it's okay to ask for help. That's what I did. And if you need help, just open your mouth and say, "Hey, mom, dad, brother, sister, friend, family friend, anyone, even if it's a random stranger." Sometimes even random strangers like your teachers or, even the janitor. There's been stories that even janitors will help you. So it's just say something, right? Just be like, "Hey, I'm not feeling too good. Can you just listen for a little bit, and then I'll be out of your hair." And that's all you gotta do. And that's essentially what I did. So, and if you guys need someone to cry on sometimes, you can come to me and just say it. It's like, I'm not gonna judge you on it, because people will judge me on what I did. And at the end of the day, I've come to accept who I am, the type of person I want to be, the type of YouTuber I want to try and be, and I'm just gonna live my life. If it goes good, it goes good. If it goes bad, oh well, that's just how it goes. As a final note, please don't spread toxicity. Please don't bully one another. Be kind to one another. Because if you're not kind to other people, then people aren't going to be kind to you. Anyways, that's all from me, guys. This is Moehawkman. Peace out.